Hello, today is Wednesday, April 1st, 2015, and I am your host, Sue Brown, and welcome to Info2Rail, your freight train to modern media. How y'all doing today? Welcome to our show. We have a great show in store for you. We're very fortunate to have artist, psychic reader, certified Reiki practitioner, and author Lisa Barretta with us today. It's going to be a great interview. I'm very excited. Well, that's all we have time for today. Thank you very much for joining us here at Info2Rail. April Fools, guys. It's April Fool's Day, so I just had to get you guys right off the start. Just having a little bit of fun with you on that fun-filled day for pranks. First, we're going to have a little glimpse into the news. According to the Inquisitor, psychic cat patrols a nursing home offering comfort to patients in their dying days. Is that not amazing? Cats are often said to possess a sixth sense, and most cat owners believe there's a lot more to our feline friends than meets the eye. But are cats capable of having psychic powers, and can they predict the time of someone's death? The staff and patients at Steer House Nursing Center certainly believe so, and they are convinced that for the last 10 years, the resident cat Oscar has predicted the death of over 100 people. The 10-year-old Tabby has patrolled the hallways and doorways of Steer House since he was a kitten. Oscar is renowned as being notoriously antisocial and aloof until residents are days from death, and then the miracle Moggy seeks them out and offers them companionship and comfort in their time of dying. Isn't that amazing? We do not realize how much our pets have abilities that are above and beyond. We just don't even imagine. I happen to agree with that. In my dad's last days, we had a little dog, and he stuck by my dad's side through everything. So that is absolutely fascinating. We're going to take a break. And when we return, we're going to have Lisa Barretta with us. Stay tuned. Don't go away. We'll be right back. We are back with Lisa Barretta. Lisa is an artist, psychic reader, certified Reiki practitioner, and the author of the Street Smart Psychic Guide to Getting a Good Reading and the Book of Transformation. After receiving her first set of tarot cards at age 14, Lisa began studying divination and astrology while honing her own innate psychic skills. Over the last 30 years, she has developed her client base strictly by word of mouth. Her worldwide list of clients now spans the United States, United Kingdom, and the Middle East. What a fabulous, fabulous client base. That is something to be very, very proud of. All right. Hello, Lisa, and welcome to the show, and thank you for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
To start out with, can you tell us a little bit about you and how you discovered your psychic gift and what inspired you to be an artist?
Well, I've always, I guess you could say, was in touch with other dimensions. Even as a child, I had some amazing experiences that I didn't think it was different to be psychic. I thought everyone sort of knew what was going to happen next, or had feelings, or saw spirit. And I just always had this interest. I personally feel that it comes from a lot of prior lifetime existences that I had, only because over the years I've talked to a lot of different people in the field who helped me, I guess you could say, put my fragmented self back together. So, and we all have the ability, but it just was, something I just felt very natural with.
So you believe that we have had lives before this?
Oh, definitely. I don't feel that it's only just one existence and that's it. Consciousness is expandable, and it's constantly moving and changing and vibrating, and I definitely believe we all had other life experiences.
I believe that as well. I see things and experience things that I have no reason or no rhyme or reason whatsoever to know the things that I know from this lifetime, so I believe that. Can you tell us a little bit about your study into astrology and divination?
I guess you could say that since I would say about 6 or 7 years old, I knew my zodiac sign. And I was always fascinated whenever I would go shopping with my mom and dad. I would always ask them to pick me up. At the time, they were little 25-cent little horoscope books, and I used to collect them and read them, and I just always had this interest. And then as I got older, I was a little bit, I guess you could say, self-taught between the ages of maybe 12 and 14. Then I started to find people who were older and more experienced that I would talk to, and a lot of really experienced astrologers. They've worked with me. They taught me many different methods of astrology, not just sun-sun astrology, but horary astrology. So it's something that I basically have really been using in my own practice and just in my own daily life since I was about 14 years old. And the tarot sort of went hand in hand with that because I'm a Pisces, so I'm naturally drawn to anything mystical or different or to do with, the things in life that really we don't consider ordinary.
I am as well. Yep. I'm a Pisces as well, and I agree.
Yeah.
Are you clairvoyant, or are your strengths elsewhere, like in tarots, or do you have more than one gift that way?
I don't really focus just on any one thing. It depends on who I'm dealing with at the time. My belief is when a client comes to me or somebody comes to me for some type of an issue or a session, when my energy links in with them, I may somehow just get a flash, a feeling. The tarot I use more or less as a guide. If I'm not tuning in clearly to them, I'll throw down some tarot cards, and that will sometimes help me bridge what I'm getting and what they need to know. And the astrology, that's really, that helps me a lot with, I call timing, or even though I don't really believe time exists, let's just say more eras or seasons of the experiences that we're having. And I always tell everyone who comes to me for a session, any type of divination, whether it's tarot, palmistry, tea leaves, astrology, it's not about, that's it, it's written in stone, it's a prediction, and you have no control over your life. It is here to show you your potential and your possibilities, and here it is, and you can follow that road and reach those potentials, or you can choose to, go a different way and have a different type of experience. But it's really meant to help you bring about your own enlightenment and guidance.
You just said that you didn't really believe in time. Can you explain that to us a little bit?
Well, this is interesting. When I wrote my last book, The Book of Transformation, it was a lot of research and dealing with a lot of different people and talking to professionals. And we have a tendency to measure time. It's seconds, minutes, hours, and this just helps give us some semblance of order to our day. But really, what is time? Is it the fourth dimension? A lot of people now, especially since we feel we've accelerated in our own consciousness as a species, time seems to go by quickly. And not just me, but other people I've talked to said it seems like the seasons are flying by. It was just the other day, it was Christmas, and now here we are, it's Easter. So what is time? Time is our perception of how fast we're moving, our acceleration with our own shift and our own expanded consciousness. And I feel that people that are more in tune with, okay, I get it, we're more than just skin and bones, we're not just matter, we are consciousness and energy. People who kind of shift up into that next phase of knowing, time does not really matter to them as much as people who are stuck thinking everything is just about the material world and what you can touch, smell, eat, and taste. For them, time is almost like an anchor for them, and it gives them, they feel that they have to achieve certain things within a certain amount of time. Everything's about time, and it's not. It's just about you to experience the moment, stay in each moment, and don't count minutes and seconds, but count your experiences. So timing, when a client comes to me and says, well, when will I meet somebody? It's not exactly when, this day, this week. Sometimes you get it just so they're on the alert, but sometimes it's just be open, because who you're going to meet should arrive between 3 weeks and 2 months within that period. So I try to get that astrologically, just so they will know, like, maybe something will trigger an intersection of, a big event in their life. But I really don't like it when you try to get held to, like, what minute, what hour, what day. Because everybody perceives time differently anyway. If I say I'll call you back in 5 minutes and I really take 10 minutes to you, it may seem like I've been putting you on hold for a half hour. So
Right.
time is more a concept.
I agree. We're all clear on what a psychic is, but can you tell us what a certified Reiki practitioner is?
A certified Reiki practitioner.
Yes.
Reiki is everybody it has some misconception. I've talked to a lot of people that think Reiki is massage, but it's really not. And I do the Asui method of Reiki, where Reiki is more where you feel someone's energy, and it's not so much just healing, a physical pain and an arm that hurts or a bad back, but what you go in and you're attuned by taking Reiki and having a Reiki master give you attunements and following through and understanding how energy works. You can go into somebody's body and feel where there is some type of an electrical interruption. What are they caught on? Is it something within their mental mind? Is it something within the higher mind? Is it past life? It's very deep. And the more you get involved in what Reiki is, you might say we are the master electricians of maybe holistic people, because we really want to go into the energy body and see what is not connecting. Where's the disconnect? Because every illness is rooted somewhere first in thought, in how you feel about something. That's where it takes its root. And then if you don't catch it when it's in that phase, it will eventually manifest down and turn into a physical condition, so you're forced to look at where there's the interruption, because there really should be no separateness between, the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual. Everything has to work as a unit in order to have, like, the optimum type of existence.
Wow, that is fascinating. I've always heard the word, but I never really knew what that meant.
It's great. You can get into past lives. You can feel what's going on somebody on a cellular level, because the cells actually, there's a lot of memory that's held in our cells. And massage. Edgar Cayce, the great American psychic, he was a big, supporter of massage, because muscle holds memory. And that's how come when a lot of people walk around with a stiff neck, it's not because they slept wrong, it's because what are you holding on to? Was it a bad day, an argument with a boss, something that's not going on right? We walk around so tense and so uptight. We don't know that we can release these things. And you're supposed to just release the experiences of the day at the end of the day. And we don't know how to clean up our mess. And Reiki does show people that it's very important to take care of this. We're walking around, we're energy magnets, and we're taking a lot of things in just by interacting with other people. But at the end of the day, before you go to bed, just, like, clear it out. And it's really important for your mental health and your physical health.
When you say clear it out, what is the, I've struggled sometimes with trying to clear my mind and get to that quiet place. Can you tell us a little bit about how we can do that?
That's difficult for a lot of us, especially now in what I call, in people who are energy sensitive, like yourself, you're psychic. And since we said earlier, like, time is just something we're trying to experience instead of, it doesn't exist the way we think it does on the clock. So what happens, we're accelerating. And even people who aren't really aware that they're shifting on some level or experience this acceleration. So we go through this thing where I like to call it ascension deficit disorder. It's our own form of, like, ADD. And it is hard to quiet your mind and meditate. The best way to do this, I find, is at the end of the day, if you don't have time to take a sea salt bath, sea salt in itself will just help you draw out any type of, like, negative charge or experiences. If you can't do that, just take some sea salt and put it in a bowl of warm water and put your hands in it. And even though this sounds like crazy magic, it's not, because the salt will help pull out that charge. Other things you can do, aromatherapy works, just certain smells. It's different for everyone depending on your own personal body chemistry. Very calming. And it's so important to take that time each day to really just give yourself some time, because we're so used to giving ourselves away to everybody else and people who need us and things we're dealing with. We forget to take care of ourselves and, like I say, clean up our own mess. And what happens, it builds and builds and builds. And eventually we develop some type of an illness, whether it be mental, emotional, or physical.
Absolutely. I guess I wondered if how you perceive deja vu. Does that happen
Deja
to
vu.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, I wrote about that in the Book of Transformation. I believe I touched on that in chapter 3. And what we have to start to realize is we're living in a world that I feel is more spiritual instead of religious now. People are becoming more aware of their spiritual essence. It's not just something with wings that flies around. We actually have the subtle bodies that encase our physical body. And the more you become aware of that, you'll find out that there are sometimes, imagine a car going down a road and it shifts into a different lane. Okay, you're still on the same road, it's just that you shifted into a different lane. What happens is we can accelerate somehow in time and shift into that lane momentarily, because consciousness is expansive. We can't just say we're just going to keep it right here. It spreads out. And we can experience a point in time where it feels like, wow, I've done this before, almost as a parallel type of existence where we're running another program. Are we running this program from a past life experience? And sometimes past lives aren't always what we consider past. I've talked to a lot of people who have had past lives with quote unquote that took place more in futuristic times. So we're basically channel surfing. You would if you were in front of one television, but you have the remote and you're just flipping the channel real quickly. And we blip out every now and then. Sometimes we're not even consciously aware of it, that we do it. But it's happening more to people too, especially since I feel we're in an era right now where everybody is like more aware that there's got to be more to us than just the physical body.
I have a sort of a weird gift with deja vu. For me, deja vu is a warning sign. It's telling, for me, if I get a deja vu moment that starts and I've been there before, I quickly have to rush to the end of it, and usually it's a negative, bad outcome, and I know immediately that I have to change the course of that event in order for it to change, to end differently. And this has been my experience my whole life. I haven't had a deja vu moment that ended good, and I haven't had one that wasn't warning me to stop, what's in progress right now. And I've always, rushed to the end, and I say, okay, we got to change this because this outcome is going to be bad. And I've always changed it at that exact moment when I see the ending. I've always changed it. And, I don't know if that's really what would have happened, but the deja vu moment I was having ended badly. So is that uncommon?
Oh, no, I would say that's fascinating. That is truly like your gift, and the fact that you have the awareness to recognize this gift, it's self-empowering, and you're finding out that you can change outcomes. So you're just proving to everybody who maybe doubts that there are, psychic abilities or precognitive type of things that go on, that no, you can. And when you have an awareness, then you can adjust the outcome. You don't have to be a victim to your fate. And that's your talent. And the fact that you recognize that you have this ability, once you recognize you can do something, then it expands and it becomes really part of who you are. And a lot of people do not realize that everyone has psychic ability, but the ones who say, I don't believe in it, or no, I don't, well, they're just not turning it on. It's there, but it's like having an app on your phone, or you don't know how to use it, so you're just going to let it sit there. But I think that's really what you have is a gift, a true gift.
It's scary sometimes, to get to the end of something. My daughter will ask me if she can go somewhere, and I've been in that moment before, even though she's never asked me to go to this specific place or with these specific people. And I get to the end and this is going to be bad. Either there's a car accident that's going to happen involving my daughter, or the circumstances at that house are not going to be good. And I see it right to the end and I have to tell her no. And then I'm the bad person. But, you
Uh,
know, it happens to me a lot. I didn't, sometimes I know it's a gift, but sometimes it feels like a weight that, it's crazy.
but you know what? You're a Pisces, and Pisces are very, very sensitive. Just think of a fish. It's like their nerves on the outside or something. When you try to, they pick up everything. They have this built-in sort of radar, and just even honoring the talents and the gifts that come with being born under this sign, you're really using them and recognizing them. Not to say if you were born under a different sign you wouldn't use them, but Pisces seem to have a tendency to be drawn to anything very mystical, different, or psychic. So because you believe in it, you actually get to experience it, which is great. Some people, they don't know what they're missing out on.
It's very true. I can't read for myself when it comes to being a psychic. Is that common for a psychic not to be able to read their own?
I think so, because I've done tried to read myself, and what happens is I'm not objective enough. I guess it would be as if a surgeon would try to operate on his own body. There are just some things you can't really get into as effectively if you went to somebody else who was taking a different look at it. I do look at my astrological chart, but usually it's after the fact. After something happens, I'll be like, I wonder what triggered that. And then I'll look and I'll be like, oh, I can see what that was. But I use it as a tool for guidance, but I definitely am aware it's a very powerful gift to be able to, have psychic ability, and it's also, a great skill to know how to interpret a chart. But at the same time, you use it as a guide. You use everything as a guide, not as a crutch. But it's hard for me to read myself. I've had premonitions and experiences where it's like, wow. And I think a lot of people have them, but some people are reluctant to talk about them because they think that somebody might think they're crazy or off the wall. A lot of people have experiences, and if you get them down and you sit them down and you get them comfortable, they start to say about the time they remember this or this happened or that happened. But I can't read myself. Not objectively. I really can't.
Well, there's times I have a lot going on in my life, and, you just want to be able to kind of put it all in perspective and see what direction to take, and sometimes it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, what I do sometimes if I feel really stuck, I may just go to my tarot deck, pull one card, just one card for the day, and see what I get on that. Or if I have a very pressing matter that needs a yes or no decision, what works for me is the pendulum. I use the pendulum a lot for myself. So what it is, I think, whatever tools work for you. I know a lot of readers, some of them will only work with the tarot, some will only work with the pendulum, some of them only work with astrology. So you have to find what works best with your energy, because we're all vibrating, but what level are we? Are we at a high vibration, a mid vibration? So depending on where you're at, you find the tool that works best for you. You find what talks to you. I guess like an artist, some of them like to use watercolor, some of them prefer to use pen and ink. So whatever you're the most comfortable with and works for you. But the pendulum is great. I've done a lot of work with pendulums.
Can you explain to us how the pendulum works?
The way the pendulum works, well, the one that I use the most, actually I have two of them. I have a clear quartz pendulum, which is it's just a quartz point on a chain. Then I have another one in amethyst. So what I like to do with them is I try to keep them clear of any type of energy. I'll keep them in a bowl of spring water with some sea salt, and I'll take them out, let them dry in the sunlight, and it sort of charges them. And I keep them in a special case so they're not picking, because, stones will pick up vibrations, especially the quartz. It'll definitely pick up, and if you're having a discussion with somebody in the room, if it gets a little heated, it's going to pick that up. So I try to keep the pendulums clear, because to me, that's my medicine chest. Instead of reaching for some meds, I'll reach for my pendulum. And what I'll do is I have a board, and they usually come with the pendulum. Or if you don't want to use a board, you can just hold it over anything, a dish, just so you can see if it's going north and south for yes or no, or if it goes east and west. That's going to give you, like, I usually take the east and west, like when it's going horizontally, not happening. With north and south, that's a yes. If it goes in a little bit of a circle or it hesitates, it means it's still too soon to get your answer. But it's not so much the direction that it moves, it's the energy with which it moves. I use the pendulum. It helps me tune into what is going on around me, and I have to say it really does work. It really is effective, and and you're not even making it go back and forth. My hand is steady, and it's just going back and forth. And there are times I wanted to have the answer that I wanted, but I got a different one from the pendulum. So it's good for yes and no quick answers, and if it hesitates or goes in a circle, it means it's just something is not yet right. And then I always double-check that, too. I'm a big proponent of using the moon. I use the moon a lot just to also gauge good days and bad days to do things. Not so much what sign the moon is in, but more or less, is the moon void. When the moon is void, I usually avoid making plans, because to an astrologer, a void moon means nothing will come of the matter that's initiated on a void moon. So they're my personal tools that I like to use when I try to figure something out for myself.
Do you believe that we can, with a psychic ability, do you believe that we can communicate through minds of other people without saying anything?
Well, I feel that I've done a lot of research with remote viewing where people can see into a situation, but we can communicate with somebody else through the power of the mind. A lot of times, if you cannot talk to the person you want to talk to, if you're having an issue and you're really not settling it, I sometimes suggest the clients, like, speak to their higher mind. That's always there. And because they're not in the room with you doesn't mean you're not connecting. Just, it's a form of, I guess you could say, psychic texting. Think it and talk to their higher mind. But everything is about intention. What I don't believe is you cannot go into someone's mind. I mean, I guess you can, but you should not be invasive. You should never try to manipulate someone else's own thoughts, because what happens, that's like holding the 220 line and not being grounded, because we're dealing with the highest form of electricity, which is our consciousness. And you can influence somebody through thought, but it's about intention. It's about how really focused you are. You just can't do it for 5 minutes, say it's going to happen. But it also, there's that fine line between wanting to help somebody or getting a message to them and being manipulative. And when it crosses into manipulative, that's like using these abilities the worst possible way. Just like medicine can be really good for you, it can help you if you need it. But then again, if you're buying it off a street person just to get high, it has an adverse effect. So you have to be really responsible with psychic ability. Some people think it's, they see everything on the internet, entertainment purposes only, and there's a zillion psychics out there, and sometimes it makes it look like it's still in the realms of fortune telling. And they don't realize this is very, very serious. It really is, and I take the business serious and the profession serious, and I don't think it should be used the way just to manipulate people or to get what you want out of something.
Like if someone's upset and, they're just having a really bad day, that's kind of what I was referring to. Can we kind of calm them and give them a little bit of sense of peace that way?
Oh, yes. I've done that. I've done that by sending the Reiki energy. The different levels of Reiki, when you get up to the higher levels, you can do what is called remote healing, and you can send somebody that calming energy. I've done that a lot when somebody's upset, where you just want them to calm down, and you're just sending them like an even vibration. Sometimes you can just imagine them and imagine a color enveloping them and sending them the healing vibration of that color. Definitely. I do believe you can do that.
I feel like I do that a lot. When I see somebody hurting inside, I kind of go into myself, and it's almost. I mean, I'm definitely praying for them, but it's kind of like sending them a healing or just a peace of mind.
Now that works because you're sending it out with a positive intention, and intention really is a determining factor too on how quickly something is received. And healing energy, that moves quickly.
It's hard to decipher these days between a real psychic, a genuine one, and the ones who are just out to get your money. Can you tell our listeners what we should be looking for when we're searching for a genuine psychic?
Right. Now, what it is, everybody does have psychic ability. Just like I tell people, we all can breathe, and so it's like breathing. It's our six senses. We do have other senses outside of just the physical body. So when you're going to somebody who's a psychic, a lot of people say, well, they should be certified, they should be tested, they have to be regulated. In the documentary I did, it's like great basketball players don't always make a basket, but yet it does not determine that they're no longer great basketball players. They're on some, they're off some. So when you go to a psychic or somebody who's going to be an intuitive for you, first be like realistic and understand that you're only going to get the information that you need to know. Some things you're not meant to know yet, no matter who you go to, whether they're the world's greatest psychic or just somebody that you think is psychic. You get what you need to know. And when you go to somebody, I like to tell my clients to be grounded and treat it respectfully. Like you're letting somebody into your energy field, so make sure you know who they are. Get a referral. Bad psychics out there, they're the ones who, I shouldn't say bad because everybody, determines what's right for you. But if you get the vibe that they're just trying to keep you codependent, or they're trying to manipulate you and telling you to do things instead of letting you have the choice to do something, if the information's presented more as a choice that you can objectively decide if you want to do it or not, that's good. But if somebody says you have to do this, if you don't do this, something's going to go wrong, start to question that, because it's really not ethical to make the choices for your client. You're giving them guidance, and then you're letting them determine it. So I guess it's like finding the right hairdresser. When you find the right one that vibrates for you, then you're with somebody that's good. But we do get a bad rap because over the centuries we've been looked at as charlatans, money grabbers, just people who are basically grifters, instead of being respected that, hey, we're the energy doctors. We are actually healers, because we're going into the psychic side. We're going into the subtle bodies, and we're dealing with what a lot of people can't see or refuse to admit is there.
I've noticed, because I have a lot going on, so I've been trying to find a psychic that I could actually talk to and guide me a little bit. But I've noticed that the ones that I call seem to tell me that there's, and it's not just one of them. I've tried 4 or 5 of them, and they all tell me the same thing. There's a negative energy around you, and if you send me $200, I can take that negative. Oh, I'm like, oh my goodness, when am I ever going to find somebody who just, will work with me and just help me through what my next step is? And I always get the same thing. You got a negative energy, and this is a female, and she doesn't want you to have what you want in your life. So send me $200 or $1,000, and I'll take that negative energy out of your life. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah, that's a red flag when to remove a curse or to tell you that a certain amount of money will change your situation around. It's really not about that. And that's another thing too. If somebody's going to deal with you in a professional manner, then you can feel secure, like they are professional. You know, if it's not always about, you know, how much you're paying if the reading's good, or you know, some people think if they pay more money they're getting a better psychic reading, and it's really, you have to find out who you're drawn to, and that could be your first test to see who you relate to energetically. You know, some people aren't ready for anybody who's an over the top type of a psychic, because they're still, you know, wading through this and getting comfortable with the fact that, yeah, we all have psychic ability. I really wish that when they taught anatomy in school, they would also go out further and teach you about the subtle bodies and tell you about our own psychic senses, that our psychic sense of smell is actually held in the root chakra at the base of our spine. And once you know that app is there, you can activate it and use it. And our psychic, you know, hearing, where to find that. But they don't, because these natural abilities that we all have been regulated and licensed out to different religions over the years as a form to kind of control people. If you don't know your own power, then you're just going to, you know, follow the herd. It's by not telling people that we have these abilities, it's very disempowering. Everybody can not be your own psychic, but you can, you know, get a better grip on your life if you do realize that you have these other senses that will work for you, and maybe just go to somebody else to get some feedback. Like we said, it's not always easy to read yourself objectively, so find somebody who can do it. It's just been so watered down and represented in such a negative way over the centuries that it's going to be difficult to try to get people back up to realizing we can do this. But I think the newer generations coming in are a little bit more open to our gifts and our spirituality, and that could really help make the being psychic not look like so much as a carny act, as much as we all have these abilities. It's part of our spirituality, and it could be a form of, you know, it's really a form of healing to know that we have this. It's not about curses or anything like that. Yeah, you can pick up a negative energy. You can have a negative energy attachment, but that also means you can do something about that too, you know, and it's not going to be removed by $200. It's working with somebody who works with energy. I'll tell you how to get rid of it.
Well, that's what I thought. You know, it's here I am struggling, and you know, they put on the internet 2 free questions. So you call them up and you ask your 2 free questions. They never even touch down on anything you ask. The only thing that they'll tell you is this negative energy is not going to allow you to have what you want in your life. And, you know, until this is gone, your life is basically stuck in this rut. And I'm like, wow, you know what? I have a problem in one area at the moment. So, you know, it's not like my whole life is cursed. It's, you know, it just, I get frustrated with that, because if I'm gonna pay somebody for a reading, it's not, I can't imagine that they're gonna go in and take out a spirit just because I gave them money.
Yeah, really, that's something. What you would have to do is identify. It's the whole process. You know, when you don't feel well physically, you'll go to a doctor, and then if they just see something, they may refer you out to another specialist to find out what's going on with you, and they work as a unit on your physical body. Now, when we're working with the subtle bodies, this is how I like to work. When somebody first comes to me for a session, I definitely want all their birth information. So when I have that in front of me as an astrologer, it's like, okay, astrologically, what's going on? Is there a heaviness from Saturn? Is there something going on that'll be part of my diagnosis? Then the second part is when they call me and I do the intuitive reading on them, I try to see, does this intersect somewhere with what's going on astrologically? Okay, and then if we sometimes can figure out the problem there, and they could take it from there. But if it looks like it's a repeated problem, a repeated pattern, then I start to get a feeling or determination that, it could be something either just the person is filled with a lot of negative thoughts, and it's like their own filters to their within their subtle bodies are so clogged and entangled just because they're dealing with the wrong people, the wrong job, or even their own mind, you know, negative thinking. If that's the case, then what I'll usually do is suggest that, okay, why don't you try Reiki? Because Reiki will help you start to move this along and will then start to level out your energy. And then when that happens, usually there's some type of an epiphany where they recognize on their own what it was and all the pieces fit together. So it's a process. There's no quick fix where somebody's going to pull 3 tarot cards and tell you, yeah, your life is going to get better, or you have a curse on you. It's a process. And when it's dealt with in a process, that's how it's the most effective. If you just want to go and get like a little checkup, get a reading or get your chart done. But if you really have a problem or an issue that doesn't seem to go away or repeats itself, then that's when you know that, okay, you have to go through the steps to find out what it is and how to take care of it. And also, not look at what we do in this profession as superstition, because we really are healers and energy workers. We're working with your own psychic energies. And I always tell my clients, you're all psychic anyway, and you have to start to turn it on and start to use it for yourself, and you'll have a more enriched life experience.
I think as kids, when we're when we're children, and we see the monster under the bed, or there's somebody over in that corner, or there's somebody in my room, I tend to believe that as kids we're really seeing this stuff, and we know that it's there. And as parents, we're constantly telling our kids and enforcing it into them that what they're seeing or hearing or feeling is not there. So I think sometimes as parents, we are the reason that our children, they do have that psychic ability, but I think us as parents sometimes end up turning it off.
That's true. And we don't even realize how we're doing it, because sometimes the imaginary friends that you see, children are very open, and in some cultures they honor that. But as soon as and a lot of children have had past life experiences. I know they're doing even more research on this. The James Langer story was one that was very popular and was out a few years ago, about the little boy who kept on having the past life experience of being a World War II pilot. And when they retro-engineered the story, they saw that, wow, this was actually true. And Dr. Ian Stevenson, he's deceased. He did a lot of research at the University of Virginia about children, past lives, birthmarks, how birthmarks can clue you into the type of past life you had. So he was also very, very, interested in how kids can tune into these things. And what we do as parents is we teach them the fear of the dark, or the fear of the boogeyman or the monster or whatever they see, the spirit, imaginary friend. But what is fear? It's false emotions appearing real. We start to tell our children to shut down these, sixth senses and just go with the logical mind and stay with the logical mind. And what happens is they get geared up to everything has to be a mathematical equation or have a scientific explanation, and that's it. And we teach them to only deal in the material world, when actually we live in both the material world and the spiritual world. We have a foot in each one, and we should teach them how to bridge these two together and then have the best of both worlds. It depends on who your parents are, how open they are, and you have to tell kids, sometimes if they have an imaginary friend, if the parent is tuned in and aware and kind of more on the side of they do believe, they'll know whether it's, is this like a good energy coming in to my kid's life, or is it something that could form an attachment? And when you have that awareness, it empowers you. Sometimes we wonder how come some people get in a lot of trouble. There are, I don't want to say bad and good energies out there, but there are some of a higher vibration or lower vibration. So which one is attracted to your kid? And I think maybe just we're just naturally prone to say there's nothing there. So they shut out anything that could be good and anything that's potentially not so good for them. But we need more education on this, because there's a lot of people out there who still want to see this as pretend, but it's not pretend. This is the other part of the unreal world that is very much part of our experience.
I have 4 girls, and 2 out of those 4 girls, when they were little, I'd have to say maybe 3 and 4, maybe even 5 years old, they used to always come to me and they would say, when I was 14, I had a puppy and my puppy's name was this. And, you know, when I was 21, I bought a car and this is what color my car was. And, you know, people giggle and laugh because they think that that's cute or whatever. But the actual connection as little kids, before they're taught that they're not supposed to, you know, oh, that's ridiculous. That's you were never 14. Well, you know, they were once in their past life. They were 14 and 21, even though they're only 5 today.
Oh, wow. See, I think that's great. Well, my kids are a lot older now, but just growing up, I used to tease them and say, like, every day was Halloween here because it was, they just grew up exposed to everything that I am inspired by, you know, the other realms, and none of them grew up to do what I do, you know, as far as being a professional astrologer or psychic. But all 3 of them, when they call me up and say, you know, I have a feeling about this job, if I'm supposed to get it or whatever, they're very much in touch with their intuition, which is good because I think it has helped them a lot. It's helped them make a lot of the decisions they made. And I was always, when they would tell me different things when they were little, even though it might have sounded bizarre, I honored it. And I think your girls, they're tapping into something.
Well, it was cute. I mean, it's just funny to hear. My daughter is 7 now, my youngest, and she used to sit and tell me about her dog and, you know, in detail what the dog's name was, what it looked like. And people around me are like, Sue, you can't let her, you know, she's making up stories. And I said, no, she's not. These are her real memories of her dog when she was 14 or 12, you know?
That's right.
This is what she really experienced. And I personally, you know, will never put, you know, tell my kids that that's wrong. I will never do that because you know what they remember and you know, that's part of them. It's part of who they were once.
I agree.
But a lot,
that you're absolutely right. It's a part of their experience of their complete consciousness.
well, I have a lot of friends and their kids will say, you know, they'll come up to me and say, "This is my imaginary friend so and so," and I'm like, "Hi," and you know, I have no doubt that there's somebody standing there that they can see and talk to. And I stand there and talk to their imaginary friend too. And I have friends that get very angry with me and they tell me you should not be pushing bad behavior. And I tell them that's not bad behavior. Who are you to say that they are not speaking to this child or this person?
I agree. And kids are more aware because they've not yet been jaded by the usual impression that anything that you can't be seen is not real. Actually, what you don't see is more of an experience than what you do see. I just like being aware of the energy around me. It's crazy how things happen. I mean, the other day I was driving, paying attention, and out of nowhere somebody decides to back out of a driveway. Now, visually, I could not see the person doing this. There were like trucks parked in front of this driveway. Don't ask me how I did it. It's just like my own, maybe my higher self, my energy, just made me swerve around this person and just continue on. So I definitely, and after that experience, I'm like, thank you to my guidance. It's like, thank you for just, you know, making me do what I did or to avoid some type of an accident or catastrophe. So I was booking. I was driving. I wasn't going slow, you know, and that car would have T-boned me, which would have not been a good thing. But there's a certain force out there that when we connect into it and we get on that rail, you know, we start to basically be on a different track in our life experience. And I like it. It helped me a lot. I think it's an enhancement to our life. And that's why I wrote the second book, the Book of Transformation, because it's more or less a guide to how to recognize we do have these abilities. Has a lot to do with just this overall consciousness where we're at is a humanity, and what to look for, how to activate it, and how to start to be aware that, hey, we have subtle bodies and just not the physical body.
Do you think that we have spirit guides that actually walk with us all the time?
I do. I do. I feel that we have guides. I have a feeling that, whoever was with me the other day has definitely been there with me before and pulled me out of a situation that there is no other explanation for. You honor your guides, and I just always ask for guidance. And if I'm in a tough situation, I'll put my head down and meditate for a little bit and just say, for my highest good, who's ever out there, help direct me, and, give me some insight into what I should do next. And this works for me. I always recognize that they're there, and then after I get what, I'm supposed to get as far as information, I always make sure to, thank them. There are other realms out there. This is not it. This Earth planet is just not the beginning and the end.
I absolutely agree there. Do you believe that we can psychically connect with our loved ones that have actually passed on?
I do. I do believe that we can make a connection, but I also know that, imagine if you have an ice cube, it's still H2O, but it's in solid form. But if you boil it in a pot, it's going to turn into, the steam, the vapor. It's still H2O, but it's just a different molecular, structure. I mean, it's moving faster than it is when solid. So when somebody passes over, their, consciousness, still expands. It goes off. When you try to connect with someone, I feel that, we can ask to connect, but once again, you have to be discerning. Are you really connecting with that person? Because there's a lot of them out there, too. I mean, that's a real populated area, too, the higher dimensions. So sometimes there are, and it's about being aware, too, how to tell when you're authentically connected in with somebody, or are you connecting in with a trickster spirit. Doesn't mean they're bad, but there's tricksters out there. But you can, and some people who have developed their skill of, mediumship and communication, they're expert at it, and they can really put you in touch with somebody on the other side. I admire those people. They're like specialists.
Do you think that when we dream about somebody and they're actually giving us information or telling us things, do you believe that that's in fact our loved ones that passed on actually talking to us?
Well, it could just be a spirit guide that's coming to you, and maybe they're taking on the form of your loved one, so you will pay more attention to the information that you're getting in the dream.
I lost my dad in October, and he shows up in a lot of my dreams, and his message is always, I'm not sick anymore, I'm fine. That's...
Well, see, that's beautiful. It's like he's letting you know, he's just putting your mind at ease, so, you can realize that he's, maybe not here physically, but he's still here energetically. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, but it can only be changed. So he's just vibrating at a higher level right now, and he's letting you know that he's okay.
He was always very comical, and he made light of everything so that it was light, and his thing was don't sweat the small stuff, and everything, even if no matter how bad it was, he just kind of made it into something to laugh about. And that's kind of what he does when I dream about him, it's don't sweat the small stuff, and it's things don't have to be so serious about everything. And that's kind of his way. When I lost him, I thought it was going to be a real rough thing for me, but it was very peaceful. I'm totally at peace with the fact that he's moved on and he's not suffering. I miss him, but I don't have that overwhelming grief that a lot of people carry when they've lost a family member.
Well, it's because you understand that he's still around. He's just around in a different form. So, You may not be able to physically go over and see him, but you still can connect in with him and his energies around you. And, you're connected on your cellular memory. You're corded possibly through past life experiences. So you have that connection, and it doesn't have to end when somebody physically passes over to a different existence. And the fact that you honor it, it's good. And, because sometimes, it's normal people go into grief, but that starts to lower your vibration. It's more of a negative charge instead of a positive charge. And what that does, that builds up and it starts to block things out. So even if a loved one was trying to communicate, trying to dig through all that grief, it may be difficult to make the connection. But because you have the right attitude, different perspective on things, it's easier for you. And he found out that by coming to you through your dreams, you're the most comfortable and the most receptive to that, so that works for both of you.
I'm very at ease when he comes to me in my dreams, and I'm very at ease I know he's always here. I can't see him, but I feel him in everything I do. When I leave the house, he says, "Be careful," like he always has, and I don't physically hear him, but in my mind, I hear him every time I turn the door handle to leave. If I'm standing in the living room, I'll hear him say, "Get out from in front of that TV." It's the silly things. I don't physically hear him like he's speaking to me, but I hear him clearly like he's really saying it.
That's awesome. I love it.
I do too. My father's biggest fear was that we would forget him, and I don't know how anyone could forget. I mean, my father was a big person in the community. He helped out everyone without ever asking for anything in return. My parents were married 50 years, and my father made sure that not only my mother, but myself and my brother were 100% taken care of at all times, no matter what it cost him. He was, just a genuine, real man. And, I had to continually tell him at the end, nobody's going to forget you, And I wonder sometimes if that's why he shows up in my dreams so much, to make sure nobody's forgetting him.
I think so, to keep their connection going, yeah. Yeah, it's a strong connection.
It's amazing. You are definitely a one of a kind in our field of psychic. It's a breath of fresh air to talk to somebody who's very genuine and very takes what you do very seriously, and that is.
Oh, thank you so much.
Well, that is hard to find. I've always been serious about what I do as well. A lot of times somebody will be talking to me and I'll just get that overwhelming sense of something that's about ready to happen to them or something that's coming up that's big. And for me, I have to struggle with whether or not I say anything, if it's a bad thing or something that's bad or that would hurt them. I struggle with the fact that I think I should say something so that they have that little bit of warning sign that they can change it. Or maybe I shouldn't say anything because it's something they can't change. So that's my struggle with being a psychic.
I do that too. Of course, my job is like a healer. I want people to leave a session with me. I want them to feel good. I'm not here to lower anybody's vibration or make them feel worse. Sometimes, not the, hey, don't shoot the messenger. Sometimes you're not going to get the answer that you want. I think it's a matter on how you present it to somebody. The presentation is what either makes them more receptive to listening and being aware. And if you can really, scare the hell out of somebody too. We don't want to do that because then we automatically lower the vibration, and they'll become even more accident prone too. And they'll start to attract, we're like magnets. They'll start to attract more negative things. So I think anybody who's, skilled at what we do here, we've probably honed our skills over the years, and when we know a lot has to do with how you present things to the client. Absolutely.
I think when you, as healers, when we can put positive, things, but I have like a friend who came to me and she told me that she, was thinking that she should go to the doctor because she wasn't sure if she had cancer. And, it's horrible, but there's no doubt I saw it and I knew. But how do you tell that person? I couldn't very well come out and tell her, yes, you have cancer, but I said, please go to the doctor as soon as possible. And I kept telling her that, and she said, Sue, just tell me if I have cancer. And I said, I can't tell you, I'm not a doctor. I'm just telling you to make an appointment and get in there as soon as possible. And that's the kind of stuff that I kind of worry. You don't really know how to approach that kind of situation because you don't want to throw that person into, you know,
into a panic.
yeah, but I was
You know,
right. And she had come back to me and said, "Thank you for telling me to go. You know, the cancer that I had, they removed it. And so far it hasn't come back, but I saw it." And that's what I struggle with as a psychic is just those things. You don't want to cross that line and say, "Yes, you have cancer and take care of it right away." And that person's just a basket case.
yeah, that is a fine line too, because I know sometimes people call me, they'll want medical advice or legal advice, and it's always, I'm an energy doctor, not a medical doctor, but if I feel that there is something there, I'll just say, get it checked because you'll have more peace of mind if you get it checked. But also keep in mind too, every problem has a solution, but worrying is going to make it worse. I know somebody, well, quite a few people who've had conditions, and then when they went inside their own body and they talked to their own body and asked, what's wrong? Why do I have this? It became apparent to them, and they also became very proactive in their own healing, too. You just don't want to put yourself in the hands of somebody else. You have to also take responsibility. It's like Louise Hay, I love her books, and she has a book about, behind every illness there is some type of a vibration, a mindset, or a thought. Is some of it carried through maybe cellular memory, past life? Identify where it's at, and then you start to take control of your own healing. I know somebody, they told her that she had breast cancer, and she just did a lot of work on herself, meditation, Reiki, and then when she went back, they told her it wasn't there. And when she prayed and she asked Spirit, what happened to the cancer, she got the message, you couldn't handle it. So people get cured, but we don't want to honor that. I mean, the New England Journal of Medicine doesn't even want to hear this,
Of course
so
not.
people believe they can't be active in their own healing, but your healing starts with you. Why do some people get better and why do some people stay sick? A lot of it depends on how you feel about what's going on, too.
Absolutely. I think a positive outlook on things and, like you said, looking inside for that, you know, that positive and that healing from within. I absolutely agree. This stuff is just, it's fascinating. And like I said, it's amazing to have somebody so real.
Thank you.
You are definitely the real deal. Is there anything else you wanted to tell our listeners today?
I would just tell them I'd like them to check out my latest book, the Book of Transformation. Open Yourself to Psychic Evolution, The Rebirth of the World, and the Empowering Shift Pioneered by the Indigos. It's available at New Page Books. They can get it online at other book dealers. So it's basically a handbook for people who want to know how do I develop my own psychic abilities? How do I open up? What to look for? What to expect? It's not a book full of meditations that tell you have to do this or there's only one way to do that. It's a book that gives you an awareness of like, wow, there is more to my anatomy than just, my skin and bones. So I would just like to put that out there. I really think it's a helpful handbook for anybody who wants to know how to help themselves even further as we go through this journey. It is part of our consciousness.
Can you give us your website so that we can go on and check you out?
Yes, you can go to www.lisabarretta.com, and that's LISA, B as in boy, A as in apple, RR, E as in Edward, TT, A as in apple.com. I usually post a monthly blog. I have a series of blogs I've been putting up, and I try to keep it pretty current to what I find a lot of my clients are asking me about, like what about past lives, what about our fragmented soul, what about chakras, what about energy, how come I keep on having repeating patterns in my life, and I hope that they're helpful enough for people who start to say, hey, wow, let me get familiar with my other body parts, or I should say my out-of-body parts.
I definitely have that issue with repeating patterns that need to change in my life, and that's kind of where I struggle because I can't read myself. So I struggle in that situation that I know that I have to change something in order for a different outcome, but I feel powerless when it comes to changing the situation on my own. Especially when you're dealing with another person or other people. I don't feel like, first of all, I don't even know where to start. I can change everything on my part, but that certainly doesn't change things on the other people's part. So that's the part that
Yeah,
I
but once
struggle.
you take, when you empower yourself and you can change yourself, you change your perspective, and then especially someone like you who's a psychic, a part of the problem we have, especially being Pisces and psychic, are boundary issues. So once you learn to determine what's your stuff and what's somebody else's, and you don't engage with anybody else's problems, you won't be like a sponge and suck them in also. And now you're only dealing with yourself. And once you get yourself all together, then you'll be able to, have a better perspective on what's going on around you. Is it yours or is it somebody else's stuff? Because sometimes we take on other people's problems and they're not even ours.
I do that.
We have to own what's ours, and if somebody else has a problem, willingly help them, but keep the boundary about, where do we stop and start, and where do they stop and start?
I do that a lot, especially people that I'm very emotionally attached to. It's hard to draw that line between, what's your part to do and what's theirs. What's your problem and what's their problem. And, being a Pisces is hard because we're very emotional, and me personally, I take everything to heart. My mind does not process what's going on before my heart does. My heart's the first thing to process, words said, or, the way somebody looks at you, or just a bad
Absolutely.
a bad day to them is, to me, that is personal. They may be having a bad day because they stubbed their toe this morning and they're just plain miserable. But when they, the way that they come across to me, it's, what did I do? Or, am I not doing something right here? Tell me what to do and I can change this. So I'm constantly looking at how to change me to suit everybody else. And that's a problem because, for me also, being as emotional as I am, it's very hard for me to realize that other people are not emotional like that. Not everybody.
Right, you're a natural giver. Are you a March Pisces or a February Pisces?
March.
Early March or late March? Or
I'm March 10th.
March 10th?
Yep.
So you're right there, like around mid-sign. So yeah, you're probably in the Pisces, Cancer, decadent. There's the first 10 degrees of Pisces or the Pisces. And then when you go from the middle 10 degrees, because there's 30 degrees in the sign, they're the Pisces Cancers. Then the last 10 degrees are the Pisces Scorpio ones. So you may be in that decadent where you're, without having your exact time of birth and just assuming right around maybe the Cancer decadent. So you're a giver, very nurturing, maybe to the point of being over-nurturing.
Yes, I am.
And worry, and not that you don't stick up for yourself, but you might retreat before you say something because you have more of an awareness. You don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, and then you bring on a lot of entanglements where, oh boy, you're entangled in somebody else's stuff. It's not even yours, and you have all these cords connecting into. Imagine like you have an outlet, and you just keep plugging all kinds of things in. Eventually, you're going to burn out or just be overwhelmed. So what you have to do, being that's March 10th Pisces, is start to be like, okay, who can I unplug and they'll still be okay? Because some people are attracted to people like you because you're nurturing, you're a healer, you have intuitive ability. So the moth always goes to the flame. You represent the light. So they're going to come to you. So you might just have so much attached to you that it's clogging up your own filter for your own life.
I definitely do.
To be very depressed. You can tell if that's the case, you'll find that either you're depressed, you'll find yourself either getting depressed for no reason, or maybe experience a lot of sinus issues.
Oh, yes.
Sinuses. Okay, so the sinus is irritation to something that you're just not filling out. If I were you, if you could find a Reiki practitioner around you. Maybe a nice Reiki treatment would start to help you move that energy along a little better and get the flow going, so you won't have any of the static in between or these bumps or knots. And once you get your own life straightened out, it's not that we don't care anymore about other people, but we keep it in a different perspective. That's their stuff, this is my stuff, and if I can help them, I will. But we know if we do connect into them, we know when we disconnect, like I said earlier on, we have to clean up our mess at the end of the day, where we don't bring anybody else's problems to bed with us or into something that we're going to do. We can't, our mind, our mental mind is going to keep on processing this like the processor in a computer. We have to know when to shut that down and just be with ourselves. And that's hard sometimes, not only for Pisces, but for a lot of people. A sea salt bath is good. Holding your hands in some sea salt is good. Ground yourself. Always ground yourself. And then when you do readings for people, too, we have to always remember to protect ourselves. A doctor's going to wear rubber gloves before he examines, somebody internally. So we're going into their energy zone. Before a client comes to me, I'm grounding myself because I don't want to take on their stuff. Because early on, years and years ago, when I was first starting out, I didn't know about grounding. And it was like I was a mess at the end of the day. I was crazy myself, erratic, depressed, or, their stuff would filter into my life somehow. And I had to learn how to rechannel that. And it's better for you, health-wise, mentally, and even your clients, when they know that there's this boundary line, too, you can even deal with them more effectively.
I think my biggest thing is, throughout the years, I've never had a problem. I've always had more friends than I could even count. I've never had a problem with, making friends, and I'm just a sponge that way, a social sponge. But for me, my personal life, I get to that point. I'm 44 years old now, and I've gotten to that point where I've given and given and given and given my whole life. I've given, who I am.
Oh, well, you're ready for a change. 44? That's that Uranus half return. So astrologically, Uranus is not only the sudden, the unexpected. It's not a midlife crisis as much as it's your turn now. That Uranus half return is, and when you start to do things that are out of character, by that I don't mean being crazy. I mean, you were always a giver, always ever somebody, or you always sucked it in and you took whatever anybody had to say and you just absorbed it. Now, this Uranus half return is making you have a flip side to the coin where you're not going to take it anymore and you want to change. And I find this especially with women, they become around this Uranus half return very much in touch with, I don't know if it's because it's, their childbearing years are kind of winding down or whatever it is on a physical level. A lot of women come to me around this age bracket that really want to know, how do I get more in touch with my spirituality? Not to mean religion, but their intuition, because it seems to be more on target. It's not being clouded by other things that you have going on when you're earlier. Men sometimes will go out and buy a sports car, have a classic male midlife crisis, but now more so than ever, I'm actually talking to more male clients who are trying to find out, like, the what next in their life purpose. And a lot of them decide to change careers, walk away from jobs, and start their own business. It's about being your authentic self. This Uranus half return is making you more your authentic self. And you should be happy about it. Other people may be like, wow, what's going on with her? But I think you should honor that.
Well, I'm to that point right now where, sometimes it's got to be about me. And in 44 years, it's never been about me. I've always helped everybody else, and I've always been the provider, the giver, in everything. But now I feel like my needs need to be met. I need to, be treated special. And I'm not a selfish person, and that bothers me that I'm that way. But so I try to, no matter how much I try to keep it inside and say, you know what, Sue, you've always taken what you get. It's just how it works. I can't anymore because my soul is so desperate for that time where I'm getting the attention and I'm getting the nurturing and I'm having my needs met and I'm, I'm not a me person. I've never
Well, you know
been.
what? Givers need to know how to have boundaries because takers have none. So, and it's people who are around you, not necessarily that they're takers and they're vicious with it. They probably don't realize that you're such a giver that they think you're just going to continue to give, but you may be energetically spent. And if you do psychic work, more so than people who don't turn on those extra senses, you're getting, hit on all levels, from the on all different layers of your existence. And I think it's okay. And it's not about being selfish as much as what I like to call it being your authentic self. And, if you have to take care of yourself too, because you cannot take care of other people if you don't take care of yourself. I talked to someone recently, came to me for a session, and they're with a certain person, but they were like, you could see they were on the fence about it, and they said, well, I'm with them, they make me happy. And I said, well, I'm very sad for you, because you have to make yourself happy first and then invite other people into your life. If this person is the one that makes you happy, it means you're not there yet, and make them look at like why their past relationships kind of, go so far and hit a wall. It's because you have to be happy with yourself. You have to like yourself, especially, Pisces givers. You have to be like, get yourself together first, because what happens, eventually you're going to wear down, and you could, like I said, the sinus problems mean being irritated. Sometimes you can even develop a skin rash, which means your body is outwardly showing you something's irritating you. And we're going to right away say physically it's ragweed, it's mold, it's something. But there's an energy behind it too. Why do some people get sick and others don't? And you just need to start, looking into the, I said as an astrologer, that Uranus half return. It's your time to be your authentic self and not feel badly about it either.
I find myself a lot getting frustrated with the people I love because, I feel sometimes like they take me for granted. And like, for me, I realize the things that I have around me and how precious they are and how thankful I am every day for what I have around me. And I don't dwell on what I don't have or what's changed in my life that's, I no longer do or I no longer have. I'm so thankful for everything I have today because I'm not promised tomorrow. But I feel
Right.
sometimes whether, the people closest to me, I feel sometimes like I'm taken advantage of, and I get frustrated, and it's like it's this.
Then you feel guilty. That's what happens. That you feel guilty that if you're not going to take care of what they need, then you're going to have some regret that you didn't do it for them, or something's going to happen. It's like you feel guilty about it.
Yes, but
So you wind up doing it anyway. But then you wind up, anger turned inward is depression. So you get mad at yourself for not having some boundaries with certain people in certain situations. And sometimes I think to myself like, wow, when I come back, I want to be able to like be married to somebody like me, because I'm a giver too. But
right.
It was only after I started to feel myself really getting run down and just little things that were starting to alert me, like, I got to stop. I can't, be spreading myself out so thin that I don't take time for myself.
Well, I see myself.
It's very important.
I see myself a lot of times so frustrated with, I'm screaming inside and it starts coming outside that I'm screaming for, these are my needs. This is what I need as a human being. And it's like it falls on deaf ears, or, sometimes I feel like the people around me that I'm screaming out for this, what I need from them, it falls on deaf ears and they just kind of, or, that's silly, Sue. That's a silly thing to feel, or, just because you feel that way, it's not my problem. And you know what? That is so frustrating being such a giver and stuff when you need, you don't, me personally, I don't understand when I'm when I'm crying out and I desperately need something from somebody that's close to me, it's hard for me when they shut me out or they shut me down quick. This is bothering me and this is really hurting my feelings, or I need this from you today. I get shut
Well, you
right
know what? They're
down.
used to you being this like pillar of strength, the person that gets things done. And when their go-to person is starting to shut down, a lot of people, they don't know how to deal with it, so they'll ignore it and walk away from it. Rather than look at it, because to look at something and fix it takes work, and nobody really wants to do the work.
And I think that's what's
As soon as
frustrating.
you stop doing it, they're going to realize, like, oh boy, and that's just not your nature. You're not the type of person to just cut somebody off cold. So you have to learn how to say no and not feel badly about it. But but then you're going to feel bad. But have your boundaries. Let people know what you have to do today or what you want to do, and and they have to work with your schedule, and they'll eventually make the adjustment.
Well, what I do for people that I love, I do it out of my heart. And I'm not somebody who, you know, I won't do something for somebody just to do it because I feel pressured.
Right.
I'm genuine that way. If I'm going to do something for you, it's from the love of my heart or the caring of my heart. And being that way, sometimes it's very hard when you deal with people that aren't that same way. It's like kind of a struggle or a big pain in the rear end to have to do that for you, Sue. And that it hurts
Yeah.
me. That hurts me deep because what I do because I love them or I care for them. And I guess I don't ask for much a lot, but when I do, I kind of feel like it shouldn't be such a struggle or such a, oh, you mean I have to do
Like
that?
the big issue. Exactly. I can relate to that. I've been there before too, where people get used to you being around, and then when you're not around to do it for them, or you need them to do something for you, you almost feel awkward in asking.
Yep.
But that's because you have yourself programmed to be the giver. And somebody once told me one time, because I'm awkward with receiving things, like, I'll do something for somebody, anything they want. But when somebody does something for me, not that I'm uncomfortable taking it, but sometimes I feel awkward because I'm so used to being giving.
Absolutely.
And
Yep.
somebody told me, you know what? You have to learn what it's like to be on the other end, because you're giving, and you've created an imbalance in your life, and it's going to tip over. Let somebody do something nice for you because it lets them feel good too. You're denying them the opportunity to feel good when you don't let them do something for you. And that was hard, but, I've learned to become more gracious about accepting things and not feel awkward, or now I have to reciprocate twice as much. I just think that's the nature of our sign a little bit, to be overly giving. Other people have tendencies where, they're more selfish. And for that, being too much of a giver is just as much a curse as being selfish too, because there is no cure for selfishness.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, those people have no idea what it's like to really give from the heart. They're selfish. So it's about finding balance too in our life. And I think as we're all going through this shift energetically, it's about finding balance, how to be both spiritual and physical, what's ours, what's theirs, boundaries. It's all about energy. It's all about intention, not so much what you're doing for somebody, but the intention you're doing it. If you're doing somebody a favor, but in your mind you're thinking it's a pain in the ass, the intention isn't good anyway. You might as well not do it.
Right.
Because something's going to ricochet back. So once we become aware it's about intention, or if we're doing something because we're doing it out of guilt, then the guilt's going to turn into some type of a physical condition for us that will manifest as, some type of an illness. Doesn't have to be fatal, but it could be, anything from a cold, a flu, an earache to who knows what, depending on how heavy the vibration is. So it's all about intention. And if you can't do something, say, I can't do it. I'm sure there might be somebody else that could help you do it, but you're just, it's about having boundaries too. It's about having boundaries, which is an issue for a lot of people. And like I said, some people, takers, sometimes have no boundaries. They'll just take.
Right. And you
But their
definitely,
intention is to take, that eventually it's going to come back to them. I've seen it happen, whether you want to call it karma or no, it's just you're going to play so many cards in that hand, and at the end of the day, somebody may trump you because you're not playing the hand right. So it works out. I mean, even though it looks like they're getting what they want at your expense, when everything eventually does level off, you see who has what,
well, you definitely cannot tell a selfish person that they are selfish because they are hook, line, and sinker going to tell you, no, they are not. And, what am I doing that's selfish? But I've ran into a lot of it in my life. And, it, that's the thing that insensitizes me the most is dealing with people that are selfish and self-absorbed. And there's so much about themselves that they don't step out and see. I'm a human being. I need too.
Right.
It's not all about we'll do this when it's a need for you, but what about when it's a need for me? And that's where that's my struggles in life. I have needs as well. There's things I want to do. There's things that I need. And I have no problem fulfilling the needs of the people that I love. That, in my opinion, is what you should do. Those are the
Right.
people you love. But when you run into a wall with somebody who doesn't realize, or, I don't, there's very few times in my life that I actually, recognize somebody doing for me because I'm busy trying to do for everybody else. So inside I'm crying and I'm screaming, and I hear myself say it out loud, what about me? And it's like, Sue, shut up. It's not about
And then
you.
what's going to happen with that Uranus? What's going to happen is one day you're not even going to know, like, wow, what happened? You're just going to shift. You may decide you're going to walk away from certain people and just go on a different path. And when a Pisces does it, believe me, Pisces is a dramatic type of sign anyway. It'll be so dramatic, they're going to be like, what happened to her? You'll be accused of having a midlife crisis, perimenopause, whatever else tag they want to put on it. And the reality of it is, no, it just, everything tipped over because it was too top-heavy with people who were takers and expecting, and it's the natural process. Now it's all going to come down, and then you're going to rebuild it differently.
That's definitely true. I have to agree with you there. I'm somebody that when I do walk away from people, and I've walked away from a lot of friends that I realize are not my friends. They're people that are there when they need something, but if I need somebody to talk to or if I need something, I'm too busy or no, I can't be bothered. And for me, I can't. That's, like I said, that is the one thing I can't stand is the selfishness and the self-centeredness of people because, I don't understand it. I personally, having the heart and the emotions I have a hard time. I can put myself in in anybody's shoes and feel
Yeah,
what
you're very empathic.
I can put myself, if somebody's hurting about something, I feel that. I can feel their pain. I feel what they're going through in that emotional, destruction inside. I can feel that. But I just have a hard time dealing with people that are, so about themselves that they can't step out for 2 seconds and say, Sue, today's about you. What do you want to do today? What can I do to make you happy? That's never happened to me in my life. And you know what?
I,
Sometimes you need that.
you do need that, and I'm hearing this a lot lately from people, men and women, and I think because it's just
Excuse me.
we're tired of all of just feeling like we are just like these worker ants that have to just build and make somebody else's life easier. Or, everybody has this need right now to be themselves, authentic. And no matter what it is, whatever it is you want to do it. And if other people don't like it, it doesn't matter because as long as you like yourself, then everybody else has to adjust. And if they decide they don't like you, then maybe they're not supposed to be on your path. But I find that even when you do something that may seem a little bizarre, I've had women that walked away from marriages. Now, traditionally, right away, we're going to say, oh, well, that's not good. What about your kids? And what about this? And what about the money? It's like not about all that. It's about if this person is not happy, I'd rather have a happy person on their own path who effectively deals with their changes and whoever is in their realm, whether it be their children or other family. The way you handle something, like we were saying earlier, like when you give somebody news in a psychic reading, it's the delivery. It's how you handle something, without a lot of drama. And just like this is a natural process and these things happen, everybody adjusts in. But if you're not happy, everybody around you on some level that you deal with is going to pick it up. And when you do something for them, even though they don't say it, something clicks in somewhere that there's that little bit of maybe resentment or frustration attached to it. And that builds and builds and builds because we have to be aware of the energy around us, okay? Because when things fall apart, it's like, what happened? This energy's been building. It's like a volcano that's going to blow. That's how come in the book of transformation, I write about how to be aware of energy, like when things happen in your life and about how the organs of your body, different things that we see, number sequences, synchronicities, deja vus. These are all clues to like the path that we're on. And if you're on one of overload and burnout, you already start to recognize these things. And if you don't do something about it, you're just going to burn yourself out. And then you have to ask yourself, is somebody going to be there to pick you up, or are they just going to step over you and find somebody else that's going to do it for them? It's okay to release some people from your life if they really are not adding to it, but they're taking away from things that you need to do to be yourself.
Well, I understand.
I've done it. It's hard, but you can do it.
Well, people go through changes in their lives where they're just, kind of stuck in a rut and they're struggling themselves. And I'm not somebody who throws people away easily. If I make a commitment, whether it be, to who I'm with, and that's hard for me because most of my life I did not allow my heart to be committed in a relationship, no matter what the situation was. I might have cared about somebody, but I wasn't, my heart wasn't in it that way. It wasn't an emotional attachment. So now for the first time in my whole life, I have that emotional attachment with somebody that just goes beyond anything I've ever felt. This is, my heart's in it, my emotions are in it, and it's heart, body, mind, and soul. Everything is in it. And, I understand people go through things, and, we get to that point in our lives where things start getting taken from us instead of given. Your loved ones start passing, and your kids grow up and move out, and there's so many changes, and they're all kind of centered around things being taken instead of given. So, when your heart is into things like that, and that's me, the only people that I've ever released out of my life are the people that were toxic, and I've never seen, any kind of potential or any kind of a giving in them. And that's easy to see, when a friend comes to you or somebody comes to you all the time and says, and I get this a lot, Sue, I have a problem, I need a reading. And I've read for everybody for free my whole life because, I don't feel like I need to charge somebody. Like that's just not me. What I have, the gift I have, I'd like to share with people. Well, sometimes it's taken advantage of. And, I have certain people that the only time they talk to me is, Sue, I have a problem. And if I said, oh, I have a problem, it's, well, I got to go. I don't have time right now or something like that. And that frustrates me greatly because those are the people that I've cut out of my life. And needless to say, that's more than half of the people that were in my life. But I'm the kind of person that the people that I truly love and I have that emotional bond with, I hold close, but I expect, and maybe that's where I'm wrong, I expect that same commitment and dedication to me as well. I think I deserve that. But a lot of times...
Oh, right. You just don't want people to come to you just because they need a reading from you,
Well, I feel
or
like...
Or they want to dump their problems.
Well, yeah, but I feel like I deserve the same commitment that I'm giving a loved one. I deserve that same commitment, that same compassion, that same giving. I think I deserve that equally. In my whole life, I've always just kind of, you know what, you take what you get, Sue, just shut up. And now I'm at that point in my life where, no, I am a human being. I might be, a giver like that, but I'm a human being as well, and I need, and I've never really been too much about what I needed. I just kind of took care of everybody else, and that satisfaction in my heart was enough. But it's growing to the point now where my needs are important. I'm 44, and you know, I want to turn that page where, it's so nice to have somebody say, "Look, Sue, what do you want to do today?" Like I said, let's do
Wow.
something you want to do. And I've never been at that stage before, but I'm so there right now that that's what's ripping me apart.
Well, the fact that you recognize that, and you just put it out there, even if it's just a vibe, just put it out there. Like, this is what I need, and I just want to attract these situations into my life. Like, be open for it. Before I do anything though, I would definitely just clear out my own energy. I would, especially being a psychic and so energy sensitive, take a sea salt bath tonight, or just put your hands some sea salt. Maybe get a little bit of Reiki, and make some time just to meditate. That's the first step in clearing your own charge out, and then see what you attract to you. Maybe you can release some of what's been entangled. And it is your time, and people should respect it. Like, you deserve it.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you so much for being with us today. You are definitely amazing.
Thank you, Sue, and I'd like to keep in touch with you. It's been great.
Oh, I would definitely love to have you back on. Do you have any books in the making, or any more
I have
future?
a lot of things that I'm working on. It's just deciding to pick one to expand on. There's so many things. It's like, wow, what message do I want to get out next?
Well, I would definitely love to have you back on when you have more.
Thank you so much.
You are great, and I'd just love to thank you.
I appreciate it. You have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye. Well, guys, that was an amazing, amazing interview. That is one gifted, wonderful woman. I just want to tell you guys, and I want to stress this, definitely get on her website and check her out, because she is definitely the real deal. She is great. So she gave you her
Facebook message.
Sorry about that. She gave you her things to go on, her websites. I was having a brain moment. It happens on those April Fool's days. Your brain sometimes gives you an April Fool's, and you got to step outside of it for a minute. But she gave you her website, so I really, really suggest you guys go on and check her out. She is phenomenal. Again, that's www.lisabarretta.com. Check her out. I hope to see you guys come back. We got a lot of great, great guests coming on the show here in the near future. So that's all we have time for today. We post all of our shows, and if you want to know more about our guests and upcoming shows, just visit our Info2Rail webpage. It has a list of our guests that are coming up, and it also has all of our past interviews, so you can check them out. Just Google Info2Rail, and it'll bring you right up to our pages. I want to thank you all very much for joining us here today, and I hope to see you here each week. May God bless you and keep you, and may his face shine upon you in these uncertain times. We'll see you soon.